we have Negamon unleashing his tentacles to the real world. The Digidestined and their partners go in for the attack. Omnimon and Seraphimon attacking the beam that Negamon unleashed whilst the others are chopping off the tentacles. Okay guys, what is up with the art in the first half of this episode? It doesn't look good at all. There was a scene at the beginning when they're all flying after Negamon attacked. TK was calling on Seraphimon as they're both flying towards Negamon. It looks like the digital artist forgot to draw half of TK's face. The bottom half of his face is missing. Granted, he was looking away from the camera, so you can't see his face, but you can see the shape of his head, and it looked like his chin and the bottom half of his head just disappeared. Omnimon, Seraphimon, Metagarurumon and Wargreymon go inside the abyss and start attacking the real body of Negamon. The Gaia Force right at the end was quite epic, with it exploding in Negamon's mouth. But then you had the Negamon digivolve and had eyes and mouths coming onto the tentacles, or coming out of the tentacles. The tentacles was whipping around the whole team, as well as crossing the border from the digital world into the real world. But guys, I know I will annoy a lot of you, but I have to be honest here. This doesn't feel threatening at all. We have seen this type of battle before in Digimon 2020. We saw this battle in the network world with Algomon. We saw it with Nidhoggmon. We saw it against Don Devimon. And again, we saw the ultimate clash with Millenniumon. And I have to say, those fights I have just mentioned were way better than this fight. Yes, Negamon is doing damage to the team with the tentacles, but it doesn't look like they're in pain. Even the impact from the tentacles attacking the team doesn't look like it feels painful. When Millenniumon kidnapped the Digidestined and kept them in his mouth, with his mouth slowly closing, that looked painful. Or even when Millenniumon swamped Wargreymon back into the digital world, you can see the impact of the hits he took. Here, you don't see any impact, just them screaming. It's no use if you're screaming and we can't see the damage. I know they will never have the Digidestined get physically hurt, but we have seen Digimon get sliced up in this very series. So they do have the ability to show the Digimon getting hurt at least. The tentacles also entering the real world. Again, what's the impact of it? Yes, the network is slowing down a bit. I mean, it looks like there's only a buffering issue on the news, so it's not really that bad. And by the end of the episode, you had the whole world emailing Izzy and the team, so there really wasn't a network issue. There's no physical damage to the real world at all. Millenniumon's fingernail destroyed a mountain, which made him feel like a world-ending monster. And I haven't even mentioned Zed Millenniumon because that's just unfair to Negamon. Negamon doesn't have that killer world-ending Digimon feel that he is portrayed to be. Negamon is said to be an abyss that consumes everything, a bottomless pit, Omnimon described him as. So then why couldn't we have seen him actually suck in the real world? The tentacles were there in the real world. What was he doing? Was he just absorbing the data? Look at the digital world. When he was absorbing the digital world, you can see the patches of white within it. Why couldn't Negamon absorb the real world since he's a bottomless pit? If he was absorbing the real world, we would have been able to see the real world disappearing. That would have been so much better, and it would have made Negamon an even bigger threat. The only thing we see is the people in the real world seeing the fight through the sky. That's it. I do like the Zed Millenniumon theme being played whilst the Digidestined team are all ghosts. Everyone is in a state of confusion, not really knowing what's going on. This is a callback to the original where Abaddomon sent the team to the other dimension. This is when it felt scary for the team. They have literally died now in the digital world. The episode becomes so much better towards the middle and end of the episode. It was literally giving me our wargame feels. We had the emails and texts coming in from people all over the world. We had the positive sparks of data coming in, as well as Matt and Ty's refusal to give up. Now, I know Matt and Ty will never give up, regardless of whoever they're fighting against. But for me, what makes the never give up trope so powerful is when other characters witness them never giving up and carrying on the fight, which then inspires those characters seeing them never give up to carry on the fight. There's no need for the strong characters to give them a lecture or give routing speech about never giving up. Action speaks louder than words. Matt and Ty kept on going whilst inspiring the rest of the team. That's what made it so impactful. It's similar to Davis at the end of 02 when he kept on going against Malomyotismon, which then inspired his team to create a miracle. And a miracle was formed at the end of this episode. Digimon does this really well, so credits where it's due. All of that power with the crests, mixed with the hope and light, gave us the sequence of the great one, Omnimon. Finally, he has returned for an evil boss monster. We didn't get to see him fight against Millenniumon, but him slicing up that ugly Negamon will be so satisfying. I'll give the creators this, they did their job perfectly for me to hate on Negamon so much. His design, his smile, his attacks, everything. It's just nasty. For me, he is the worst evil boss monster for Digimon 2020. Devimon in his champion form was better than him. And speaking of Devimon, he made an appearance. You know that saying, you have a guardian angel watching over you? Well, here, TK and Seraphimon have a guardian devil watching over them, as we saw the usual white feather turn black. So was it Devimon's feather all this time, rather than the angels? That's a question for you guys down in the comments. But overall, this was a tale of two halves for this episode. For the first half of the episode, I did not enjoy it. The fight with Negamon didn't feel like a fight. And we have seen the team take on a big evil boss monster before in this series, and it was done better against the previous villains. But the second half of the episode really picked up with Omnimon, Tai and Matt. So looking forward to seeing Negamon get sliced up by Omnimon. Comment below your thoughts in this episode. I'm sure a lot of you will disagree with my review. Hey, if you like the fight against Negamon, that's cool. Let me know why you enjoyed it, and we can have a debate in the comments. I personally didn't like the fight, but if you did, I'll respect that. At least you enjoyed it. I loved the fight with Millenniumon, so if you enjoyed the fighting in this episode, I can understand it, but just keep it respectful. That's all I'm saying. We're all fans of Digimon here at the end of the day, so looking forward to reading those comments. And like I always say, care for nothing.